Hello everybody and welcome back to our Fast Fact series. I'm Ted, your host, and for this Fast Fact, we're going to look at Pope Leo III. Leo III's motivations for crowning Charlemagne as Holy Roman Emperor are one of the more fascinating aspects of all of history. And Leo III himself was one of the more fascinating popes, and we've had, at least as far as Catholicism, they've had some fascinating popes, some men who we wonder how they got there, or how or why they survived so long. But the position of Pope was a position that was coveted by the leading families of Rome. They vied with one another to get their members elected Pope. You can think of the papacy as the consulship during the Roman Republic. Small number of aristocratic families vying with one another for this prestigious office. And what made Pope even more attractive was that serving as Pope made you an autocratic monarch. You stood alone, you were answerable only to God, and you held that position, you held that post for life. Now, when Leo III was elected Pope in 795, the relatives of the previous Pope, Hadrian, were deeply disappointed. They wanted another member of their family to be elected Pope. They wanted to continue in those offices. They wanted to enrich themselves through the papacy. They accused Leo III of being a fornicator and a perjurer almost immediately. When these failed, when those attempts failed, they attempted to kidnap Leo, locking him into a monastery. Then they attempted to blind him and to cut out his tongue. Now, and kidnapping, blinding, and mutilation like that, those were pretty common in Europe at the time, and it would remain common in Europe well into the modern era. The early modern era, I should say. Leo III escaped and he fled to Charlemagne's court, and he pled with Charlemagne to come to Rome and to avenge him. Now, the charges against Leo III were most likely true. Churchmen had a long history of such activity, especially popes. One can think of Rodrigo Borgia, or Pope Alexander VI, as being an especially don't want to say, well, he was corrupt, but an especially bon vivant type of pope. Now, Charlemagne decided to assist Leo and to go to Rome to avenge him. Now, Carolingian authority was very closely tied to papal authority. The Carolingians had been able to depose the Merovingians and take the title King of the Franks because of a papal blessing, because the Pope at the time had acquiesced. If the papacy was discredited, there stood a very credible chance that the Carolingian dynasty itself would be discredited. Now, Charlemagne traveled to Rome, and he announced on the way that he was going to investigate the charges himself. And he established a commission to examine the evidence and to interrogate witnesses. And that commission tells Charlemagne something that he probably did not want to hear. And this results in the commissioners saving themselves by not ruling on the matter. They claim to not have jurisdiction to rule on this matter. Now, the evidence is then disposed of, and Charlemagne simply allowed Leo to clear his name by swearing an oath. Leo swears an oath on the 23rd of December, 800, and 2 days later, Charlemagne the crowned as Holy Roman Emperor by Leo on December 25th of the year 800. Now, there is almost certainly a connection between Leo III's coronation of Charlemagne and Charlemagne's rescuing of Leo from his enemies, and also giving Leo protection. And that'll sort of wrap it up for our quick fast fact on Leo III. Interestingly enough, Leo III will rebound from his relatively weakened position to sort of to hold the imperial title has a counterweight to ensure that the Carolingian kings become subservient to him. Charlemagne had originally intended the title to die with him, but that's because he had 3 sons. By the time he was dying, he only had 1 surviving adult son, and he determined to have that son succeed him to the imperial office and the imperial dignity. And he crowned his son himself to forestall any pope's attempt to to lay claim to having the only authority to crown a Holy Roman Emperor. And that settlement survives until Charlemagne's death. After Charlemagne's death, Leo III orders Charlemagne's son to Rome so that he can crown him properly. The Holy Roman Emperor title proved to be both a blessing and a curse to the Carolingian dynasty in that way. But hit like, subscribe, and comment. Let me know what you thought about this fast fact. And I'm Ted. I'll see you guys next time for another fast fact.